Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater, and welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. I'm excited to introduce my guest today. Mahri is the owner and founder of Body Conceptions. She started this business quite a while ago. She's a former professional dancer, and she spent 12 years dancing around the world. It was through dancing that Mahri discovered her passion for fitness, which I get as a former dancer myself. Mahri spent her early years in the fitness industry working for Tracy Anderson Studios, and then went on to become the creative director for FlyBarre at Flywheel Sports. So I remember Flywheel for the bunch of years ago when it was hot and hit. And, Mahri was a huge impact there. One of the things that attracts me to Mahri and her story is how she then went on to say, you know what, there's something more here. There's something more about bringing my own format together to fill the holes of fitness, bringing my background to dancing and creating what I know of creating in fitness studios to creating my Body Conceptions. So Mahri, I can never pronounce your last name and you're going to correct me on this, but Relin, yes. Mahri Relin and I have been in conversation for over a year now because I'm not only interviewing her today, I'm a client of Body Conceptions. And very early on, I just really enjoyed talking and learning from her. So welcome. Thanks for joining me today on Her Success Story.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, let's just go over a couple of facts. Body Conceptions have been around for about how long now?
Over 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So coming on to a 10-year mark in building a business is a big deal.
Yes, it's true. I never would have imagined that it would have been so successful and fulfilling for me, to be honest. But I mean, even to have it go through so many different stages, that's also been really amazing.
So, when we met, I was so impressed with you because some of the things you didn't just say, okay, I'm going to create this and I'll teach it. You took with so many people when you start out and there's fitness and there's trainers and you kind of build your workout. You didn't just build your workout, you built a brand. And so let's talk about the differentiator of what gave you the impetus to do that.
I love that question. I was a dancer for a long time in New York. And so, I've just always loved dancing and connecting to music physically. And, then I discovered how dance and fitness could come together. And that was a huge revelation. And I have to say, the beginning exposure that I had to fitness also included becoming exposed to women who were pregnant. And, because I had more of an academic background before I danced. And I think, they at the studio, they felt like I might be a good fit with these specialized clients. And indeed they were. And I realized that I just needed to know so much more about pregnancy. I got myself certified. And I also realized then that pregnancy was not something that fitness at that time knew very well. It was more of like prenatal yoga. It was in the yoga world where people would have their movement. That has changed since then. But that was the beginning of not only wanting to do my own thing, but really understanding that there was a specialized need in women's health and women's fitness that I wanted to fill. And I think that was the beginning of how that combined with really wanting to be supportive of women in general. That's how I felt like my brand was born. So, and then I kind of, I was really lucky with FlyBarre at Flywheel Sports to kind of see, because I was there in their first year, to see how a brand is built. It's how you create it from the atmosphere to the look and feel, your experience to the way that you interact with clients. And then really coming from a mission. And I just felt like, I had such a mission around helping women and supporting women at that time in fitness, especially during pregnancy and beyond, that I really began to understand that, the brand, it's a bigger story. It's not just doing a workout. It's really speaking to women in a bigger way and having a why the whole time.
I love what you're saying. And, I'll take this back to back in the day, truly. As a former dancer, and when I conceived my first child, and that's why I'm saying way back in the day.
Yes.
And just so the audience knows, listeners, my daughter and I, my adult daughter who's getting married, and I do body conceptions together, a couple of days a week. But I wanted to work out, and I didn't buy into, what I could or could not do. So I got myself a trainer even before I was 30 years old, when I didn't have a pot to piss in financially, but I found the money to say, I have to do this or I'm not going to be healthy to deliver. My body has to move. My body can't just stop moving. It's moved for X amount of years. And in that journey, in the same way, as women, our bodies go through various transformations every, whatever that is, 10 years, and eventually menopause, and our bodies are continuously changing. And to have somebody like you who really identifies with the shifting and changing of women and our bodies is so important, because it's not a one size fits all in workouts.
No, it isn't at all. I have so much to say about that. I think some of the biggest transitions are some of the most important, and also the most barren and isolating in terms of information and support. So, I think fitness understands pregnancy a little bit better, to be honest, which I really appreciate and love. But it's even, you get cleared, you have your baby, you've gone through a tremendous amount of trauma, you get cleared, quote unquote, and there's really no guidance after that. And there are some major injuries that can happen. I don't mean to be, I don't mean to be negative in any way. I mean, it can be a really positive experience, but it's just understanding how to get back to fitness, how to get back to yourself and your body, and do it in a way that's healthy. And just knowing that there are certain ways to do it that can be really wonderful for you moving forward. And then there's, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. I mean, these are times that can also feel very isolating. We don't often talk about it. Changes occur in our body that we don't understand, because we as women don't talk about, like, our hormones. We don't understand what happened to us. And there are specific things that fitness can do to support those changes, and also things that fitness can do to make us feel worse. And we don't often know the difference between those two things. So it's not only helping educate people, but it's also, you spoke to this like personalized support that you had. You knew you wanted a trainer, you knew you wanted that support. I believe so much. Everybody is so different and so unique, and we compare ourselves against people so much. But I think, really understanding how your body works in particular, like your specific changes during pregnancy, your specific needs after pregnancy, being able to coach people one-on-one and work with them through movement is, to me, one of the most fulfilling things, because we're all so unique.
I love that. So, goodness, I have so much to say. And the one thing you're saying, which is so true, women who we think are so open about everything, we're so open up to a point. Mm-hmm. We're so open about sharing all the wonderful things about being pregnant, about the laughs of a hot flash amongst women. But we don't talk about all those other changes and feelings that are going on in our body that can be so challenging. So I want to talk a little bit more about you building this national brand, because the fitness industry is a massive industry, and it's not an easy industry to make a name for yourself of.
True. Yes.
And I have to give you credit, because I truly think, part of it is, as a former dancer, the competition is so stiff, and there's so many people who say, I can never break through, but you were that woman who stayed the course.
Yeah, yes. 30 million thoughts going through my head to talk to you about it, because it's been such a wonderful journey, but also really daunting too. I remember when I was making my decision just to start my own thing, I remember I was talking to a client. She's like, talk to my husband, he's in business. So he sat down with me, and I could tell he had no time for me, but I was like, should I do this? Like, how do I know that's the right thing to do? And he asked me, he's like, I, by the way, had clients on the side who had asked to work with me as I was developing my own thing. And he asked me, he's like, well, what's keeping you back? And I said, And this sounds so simplistic. I said health insurance because I had received health insurance for my last job. He said, okay, how many clients does it take you to make that money to buy your health insurance? And I said, realistically, one. And he's like, I'm done. So it was so interesting. It was almost like, yes, obviously I'm going to do my own thing. But it's understanding the fitness industry. It was booming at that time. This was when boutique fitness was just taking off. I was really, really lucky. I had worked with a company already creating something from the beginning. So I understood what it meant to, write a manual, to create, to do focus groups and create a method, to find out, to do my research and find out, also how to speak to press. And I had amazing PR when I first started because I just hit it at the right time. But I think if you're going to try to really last and really grow and pivot and develop as a company, I think I've learned, and believe me, this didn't all come from me. I wasn't raised in a family that had anything to do with business. I just talked to a lot of people. I had a lot of amazing advice. And I met some incredible people who helped me see. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I want to jump in there because it's so important to acknowledge the willingness to what I'm hearing you say. And I say this to my clients all the time. Did you do your market research? Have you asked the marketplace? Have you asked colleagues? Have you asked a couple of business advisors? Have you spoken to this one or that one and this one and that one? What did they have to say? That businessman who originally sat down with you and said, what's holding you back? And you said, health insurance. Said, okay, what would that mean? One client. Oh, light bulb. And it's not simplistic. It's that we look at the muck and not at the solutions.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And we don't often realize, I think when we're thinking of starting something like this, that the talking to people is everything. I mean, just putting ideas out there has led so many people to tell me, oh, speak to my friend. They know about this. Oh, I have someone literally I'm going to refer you to. And it's by speaking out loud and having intentions that I'm expressing that have led me to the right people and to find the right resources. If I had been quiet about everything, I would not have discovered all of those people in my world who helped guide me. But it also is, and what I've learned as I've gone farther along, which I learned the hard way a little bit, but I now have an amazing business advisor, is that once you are on your path, to stay connected to what makes you truly authentic. So it's truly understanding your mission and also truly understanding yourself. And I know we had a little conversation before we started about, authenticity and just being really in touch with who you are. And that has been amazing as well, because you will have a lot of other influences around you. You see in the fitness industry, other people are doing this, you should do that. And believe me, I've been swayed in directions that have nothing to do with what I want because everyone's doing it, quote unquote. And I had to keep reminding myself, especially with this business advisor, that if I stayed really true to my mission and also to myself and my authenticity, that helped me steer my business in directions that were really truly me, and that helped us grow because of that, without doing things that were just like what everyone else was doing, it's not a good idea anyway to do that.
Very well said. And when you keep jumping to what's hot.
Right.
Okay. And it's so easy. Oh, this is hot right now. Let me get into it. If it's not aligned with your vision and your long term, then it's a detour, not an accelerator. There's times we want niching and bringing something is an accelerator. And there's other times that it's the detour that you don't need in your journey.
Yes, and it can take some time to figure that out. Well, I've gone on, for example, in my past, there have been 2 big times when I was encouraged to open a physical studio. And especially the first time around, this was when I was still in New York City. I mean, I took a year to look into this, and my gut was screaming at me the entire time not to do it, probably because I knew I wanted to move somewhere else soon after that. So I eventually, after being in New York for a certain period of time, moved to Denver, and I knew that was the right decision. And I'm glad I didn't open a studio in New York, because it would have kept me in New York longer than I wanted. So it's things like that where I knew that whole year my gut was not happy about this direction, but I had people around me saying, yes, let's make a studio. Let's do, and you sometimes have to just learn those lessons. And there have been other things too. It's like the fitness industry does video. We do have some videos, but there's certain directions you can take with that. This fitness industry does this or that. And it's like, as long as you really understand, yes, your long-term goal and your mission, then that helps guide you. And I just have to really listen to what my gut is saying. If it feels really difficult because it goes against where I want to go, don't do it just because maybe 5 people have told me to do it, because this is where everyone is going. It keeps me also in my niche and in my direction as a unique business. And we're really proud of that as well.
So I have to ask you, okay, navigating this past year during this pandemic.
Yes.
It has been interesting for a variety of different businesses in a variety of different ways. In moving body conceptions forward during this time, what has been the pros, the cons, the learning lessons?
Oh my gosh, I've learned.
That's a full question. We could do a half hour on that alone, but listeners, don't panic. We're just going to touch on it.
Well, I mean, just from the start, this affected, we knew immediately we had to go virtual, because before everything shut down, I was like, we're going to have to go virtual. I knew it. And we work with so many mothers, especially new mothers, that I knew it was going to be hard, because these women, most of them, like, they suddenly had homeschooling, work at home, chaos with the family, no time. And now they're supposed to do a virtual workout with us. Like, it was, I realized that it was incredibly daunting. However, we then became, a savior for them, because then we were something that helped them structure their time at home, because they had a workout to look forward to. We were something they could do in their living room. They didn't have to, travel an hour or 45 minutes, 30 minutes to get to us and then go back home. We solved a lot of problems for them. And they soon discovered that we could be just as personalized online as we could be in person. And that took a lot of work on our part we did a ton of research, where as a company, we were on Zoom, experimenting with the voice versus music, and how the best way that we could communicate with a client virtually and still give them the same physical experience. It was not easy. I mean, we really worked at it. But I have to say, we also had a big conversation, because it's also been, there's so much that's happened in the world too. And we had big conversations in the summertime that got really honed in on who we were and our identity. And I'm just really grateful for those conversations, because we were talking about things like feminine energy and this idea of, as a woman supporting another woman. We just happen to have all female trainers. That can change. But right now we work with mostly women, and we are female trainers. And we talked a lot about what it means, what feminine energy means, and the connections between us as people, and our connections to emotions and to our body. And we had these really deep philosophical conversations as a company that, like, it's not like we're like all woo-woo with our clients. We're, every single trainer is different in our company, but we were coming back to the why for each of us that took this pandemic to bring it back to that. Why are we doing this? How do we support each other? What's the language we use? And we came out with this word honor, and honoring the body, honoring the woman, honoring the connection. That became a really big word for our company. So I think, to get back to your question, it's the pandemic required us to make such huge changes, but they led us to, I think, become a deeper company and a more connected company within ourselves and also with each other. And then you think about virtual, it's like virtual extends beyond New York City and Denver. So now we're working with people all over the country and the world too, which has been amazing.
So from what I'm hearing, is you've used this pandemic as a way to scale and maximize your business and your clients and your audience.
Yes. And then also deepen our identity as well.
I love that. And I love how you talk about bringing it back to your why, and bringing back to, I'll always say business is a piece of who we are.
Yes.
As women leaders.
Yes.
And it's a great part of our identity. But when we're really working on our whole self, we show up for our businesses, our families, the things we love in a variety of ways on a greater, higher energized way.
Yes.
Because we are happier and we're better taken care of from within.
I mean, I just couldn't agree more. I also have to say too, on a side note, I was just also really lucky to have fitness be my business because it also saved me in the pandemic. I mean, being able to move my body so much
Yeah.
was just incredible. But that also speaks to what you're saying. Um, I have this incredible advisor. Her name is Britt Bloom, and I just need to give her a shout out because she's a huge influence for me. She has always brought it back to authenticity, to
Mhm.
truth in self. And so that she'll talk to me not just about the business, but about my life. And it's a lot about how I fill myself and how I become connected with myself. And then also how I feed myself. And I'm a dancer. So when I move, you know, in the business, but also I'll take dance classes. I'll do things to feed my creativity. And you're right, that makes you much more rich as a business owner, and you show up with your clients and you show up with your team so much better because I have so much more joy and alignment in myself to bring to the company. I'm not fractured. Although I have to say, you know, the pandemic was very challenging. So I had some lows. I mean, just personal lows. I'm not going to deny that, but I think you just really reconnecting over and over and reminding yourself that it's about alignment with you that really brings more joy and just more success in your company.
So from here, what is a piece of advice you would give to other women leaders out there? You know,
Yeah,
from the concept of taking care of themselves, their businesses, everything you're talking about.
yeah, that was yeah, because I know you were interested in that, and that was going to be my answer was becoming more aligned with you. I think it can be more specific. I think, you know, we really have to analyze in ourselves what brings us joy. I mean, it's part of my business as well. Like so much about what we represent is joy and movement, and I just believe that that's as a business owner, that's something that's really important is to really take some time to get to know yourself. What do you love? Well, I mean, I'm more artistic. I'm on the artistic side, so I'm getting in touch with. I'm listening to music I love. I'm doing movement I love. I'm going out in nature. It's these things that connect us with the kind of more transcendent sides of ourselves that I think makes you understand. Again, that's the why. Why are you doing this business? And that will allow you to then spend more time on your business. You get through the obstacles much better. I think that you just glow, you shine more. People are drawn to you as a business owner more. I just think your direction makes more sense. But sometimes I've gone through vision statements where I've had to really go back to my why a couple times because our lives change. So I think it's also revisiting that and not just only looking at that when you start your business. I think you have to we change and we evolve. And so do our whys. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes our whys do evolve, and sometimes they don't. But you all always, I agree with you. You have to touch base
Yes.
and see what that is for you, where you are in the journey, and where are you going next based on what you're saying is your authentic self, who you are, where you want to go next, and then how are you going to get there. My why, I will say, for several businesses back has really stayed constant. Yet the way I approach my business based on that value has shifted and grown over the years.
Yes, because it has to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for us to have longevity, we have to pivot all the time. I mean, this last year was by far the biggest pivot I've ever had to handle. But it's you also have to look outside of yourself, and I think that is maybe another part of this. You have to be aware of reality. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to know your industry. So I think if you understand yourself within a changing industry, then the pivots make more sense. I also use a lot of advice from people I really trust. I mean, I really use others to help me through these things because I can get a very narrow point of view because I've had the same one my whole life. Like, not the same one, but like, it's just me. It's me and my body and my head, and having others help me who trust me and also know me, but I have people in my company, my manager, who's, I mean, such an incredible trainer, manager, training director, she has challenged me on things by saying, I suggest you do this, or I suggest you look at that. If I didn't listen to her, I would not be as far as we are. She is an incredible resource. So
Love that.
So I not only have to listen to myself, but I have to really, really trust the advice of others who I care about and who care about me also.
Mahri, how can our listeners learn more and know more about you and Body Conceptions?
Yeah, so our website is www.bodyconceptions.com. Remember the S at the end. And we're at Body Conceptions on Instagram and Twitter. And we're also on Facebook, but we're not as active on Facebook. So Instagram's a big one. You can also contact me. You could DM me through Instagram, by the way. I'm really into providing advice, consultations. I give anyone who wants to reach out to me within my schedule. I'd love to talk to you for 20 minutes if you have any questions about fitness. We also have an on-demand platform. You can get to it through our site, through the on-demand tab. So that's probably the best way. You can also, through Instagram, you can see, link onto our profile and get all that information as well.
So listeners, check Mahri out. Check out Body Conceptions. Have a great workout. Enjoy the fun, the movement, and how it brings you back to really being in action as business leaders. Because that so helps, at least for me, it helps me stay grounded, helps me focus my energy to when I sit down at my desk, I am full ready to go. So big shout out to your team and your staff. I have to tell you, great shout out to Christina. Big fan, Christine. And listeners, remember, take a moment, go to your comments. What did you take away from today's conversation with Mahri and myself? And the most important question for you, what are you going to implement for yourself as a woman leader from listening in today?
Thank you so much. I love talking to you today, by the way. Thank you.
It's been a blast. Listeners, hit subscribe. We come into your inbox every Monday morning with great new content, some content episodes, some great interviews. See you next time at Her Success Story.